What is up, realmers and pups, furries, fays, dragonkins, cryptids, mythical creatures, beings of consciousness, gamers alike? How it be, what it do, and how it is. Back at it with more Sorcerer, more fame to be earned, more experience to get. So, okay, here, let's go to, what is this, Little Stick. Alright, we're gonna hang out with Little Stick here. I'm gonna pay attention to the minimap, and I'm gonna make sure that, I'm playing it safe, playing it cool, especially with my shiny Forgotten Crown. Oh, dude, it is so awesome. It's so nice. Genuinely, it is so amazing. And you know what's crazy? I've already died by things that, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna, look, okay? Listen. I'm not gonna get all huffy puffy. I'm not gonna get all egotistical here, right? Like, see right there, I knew bubbles are showing up. Guess how I died recently? Bubbles. Guess what jacked me up recently? Again, for a second time on the class right after. Bubble. Well, technically it was the king crab that's out here, but it was still the bubbles that took the majority of my health. But still, come on. Come on. Come on. You already know, dude. You already know, dude. Like, seriously, come on, bro. Ooh, fungal cavern. I don't need that. Alright, what is this? Skull Shrine? Come on. You know how many of these things I killed? You know how many of these I slaughtered? Like little helpless squirrels? Shoving them into like giant extra long cholo socks. Swinging them around and just smashing them against the floor. Come on. Come on. Come on. Alright, let's get back over here. Get back, get back. You don't know me like that. You don't know me like that. Haha. You don't know me like that. Haha. It's me, Mickey Mouse. Haha. Get back, get back. You don't know me like that. Haha. Kind of sounds like a parrot. You don't know me like that. You don't know me like that. Dude, I remember, and you know, I'm gonna talk about this because, you know what, screw that guy. But I remember when I was a wee young gremlin, little goblin boy. I remember we had a silver-crested cockatiel. It was a really big bird, very loud bird. It was a very big bird, very loud bird. Very big, very loud, very beautiful. Yeah, I'll do this. I really need the scepter from here. Hopefully it'll be enchanted. I'm hoping so. Alright, let's go. Come on. Whoa, am I not hitting anything? Is it glitching out? Because it's not showing my little shocks. I can't tell if it's hitting anything or not. Alright, there we go. But you know, we had a silver-crested cockatiel, and we were living with a my stepdad, right? And it was, you know, my stepdad and whatnot, and he was not the best person whatsoever, and not really. Okay, hold on. Wait a minute, lightning 444, 1,000 reduced by 135 each sub one. Dude, even then, triggers twice. Total damage 314 over 3 squares. Oh, let's see. How far does it go, though? Ooh. Ooh. Man, that's gross. Gross. By gross, I mean it's really good. Oh, look at that. Oh, and it's like green. Okay, I dig that. I dig it. But, you know, pretty much, we had this silver-crested cockatiel. We're living with this, with our stepdad, and this guy was a federal officer. So you can tell he was very, not. You would expect him to be in that type of position, to be. Oh. Okay. Here, get that dopamine. Get that dopamine, roamers. But you should expect someone in that position to be, you know, emotionally stable. But this dude definitely was not. A lot of dopamine in this dungeon, by the way. But so this guy, just to sum it up, he was very, very abusive, extremely abusive. I mean, he played favoritism with his own flesh and blood daughter, which, you know, I personally, like, I understand why someone. Oh no, that's way too far. I need to. Oh fuck, I missed out on that. Damn. I can understand why someone would act like that. Now, you know, as like an adult, even as a child, I understood. I had to be an adult from a very young age. So I was kind of ripped from my childhood, and not in the way of like through sexual assault, but more so just in a way of like, yeah, I had to mature up, and I was not allowed to be a kid. And so, I'll take that, thank you. And so, we pretty much, there you go. And I'll just, no? Okay. And so, pretty much, just to sum that up, right? So you understand more context of the story. We had a silver-crested cockatiel. This dude was not a spitting image of what is right in the world. Oh, that's a drawback to this. It prevents you from firing for a moment. Okay. But pretty much, he this giant bird would squawk a lot. It would squawk. It'd be loud. It was a very, very loud bird, extremely loud, and he did not like this. So I remember the bird was in our room, because our room was like the furthest away from everything in the house, pretty much. And gotta be careful here. And pretty much, he would come into the room like at any hour. He would come into the room when the bird was dang, Super J, man, wild. But he would come into a room any hour that the bird was being loud. You can say being obnoxious, or like I would say being a bird. And he would grab a stick, like a really thick, rounded stick, and he would put a blanket over the bird's cage, so that we would think it was nighttime, so it wouldn't squawk. But the bird would start squawking, and so he'd walk in. And it didn't matter when the bird was squawking. I mean, we were woken up to this many times through the night, me and a fellow grublin of mine. And so we would wake up to him grabbing the stick, lifting up the blanket, opening up the front of the cage, and just swinging the stick from like on the inside of the cage. He's like swinging around, you know, and like, you know, the bird's flapping everywhere. You hear just like, you know, and it was awful. I mean, I guess you could say that, you know, this kind of where I learned my, I got a, ooh, gummy fart. Damn. Damn, ripping delicious, succulent, sweaty farts. Damn. Oh, you don't lift. Yes, I do lift, but ripping dumbbells. But anyways, so he would do that, and then I remember we had a cat, and I remember he oh, I almost stacked on top of that. Holy shit. But we had a cat, and I remember I was in the living room. I'm playing with the cat, you know, and the cat's like, you know, jumping onto my lap, and I'm like, oh, okay, hee hee. And I'd lift him up, and I'd stand up, and then I would go to the couch, and then I would drop him on the cushion of the couch. Mind you, I'm hella small at this point. I'm very small. I'm like about as tall as like a doorknob, and you know, I was just playing with the cat. I'm having a good time with the cat, and you know, he gets home from his job, and he was like, you know, because he worked at a penitentiary, federal penitentiary, and so, you know, he got home and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? And he was like, what are you doing? Why are you throwing the cat? And he like walks over, like the cat like looks up and does that like curl thing and it bolts off. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm not hurting the cat. I'm not hurting the cat, you know. I'm dropping it onto the pillow cushions, and I'm not even dropping it from that far. And he was like, "You're gonna talk back to me? You're gonna call me a liar? You're gonna call me a liar?" And he grabbed me by my ear, lifted me up by my arm, and mind you, he's still yanking on my ear as I'm being lifted by my arm. Like he's yanking on it, and then you know, he pretty much takes me to the room, and he spanks me with a belt. And he was like, "Don't you abuse animals?" And I was like, "Then what am I then?" He was like, "What?" He was like, "What'd you say?" And I was like, "Then what am I then?" You know, and I'm crying, right? And I'm trying to talk. I'm like, "Then what am I then?" You know, like I'm crying, cause that ish hurt. Getting hit with the belt sucks, especially when they're spanking you with the buckle part of it. You know, that sucks. And so, you know, I'm like talking back, because I'm like, dude, fuck this guy, you know. And pretty much he's like, well, if you stop acting like an animal, you'll start getting treated like one. And I was like, I thought animals were supposed to be treated fairly. I thought you're supposed to be gentle with animals. And he like stares at me. He's like, you want more? It sounds like you want more. And I was like, no, I don't want more. And he's like, no, it sounds like you want more. He's like, you know, I'm gonna teach you a lesson about respect. So he, you know, hits me with the belt again on my ass. And I'm sitting there later on, because then afterwards he took my blanket, he took my pillow, he took the door off the hinges, or the hinges, and you know, he took away the blinds from the window, so there was like little to no privacy whatsoever. Oh, I just made it, literally the last second. Damn. And you know, I remember the cat came in the room, and I was like, no, you gotta go. Come on, you gotta go. You gotta get out of here. And then, so then I'm literally shooing the cat out. I'm not even touching the cat. I'm shooing it out. And I'm like, you know, shoo. And then finally, you know, me and the cat are nearing the entrance of the door. And mind you, it hurt to walk. It hurt to walk. It really did. And so I'm like shooing the cat out the door, and then I put my hand down, and on the the back of its leg, it's you know, I'm pretty much like here you go, you know, like gesturing like you're like, oh, may I please have some more, like gently like that, except like, you know, my hand is like right there, and I'm like, you know, slowly pushing the cat out, being as gentle as possible, because I'm like, I do not want this misconstrued whatsoever, that I'm being rough with this cat or anything like that. Wow, that rhymed. I'm a poet and didn't know it. But anyway, so like I'm trying to be gentle with this cat on its way out, and it's like kind of like, you know, walking a little bit, looks back at me, you know, and it rubs up on my leg, and I'm like, no, you gotta go. And so then when I start, you know, gently pushing the cat out, like practically guiding it, right? So I'll just say, guiding the cat out. You know, he walks, he's walking past towards his room, and he looks over and sees me guiding the cat out. And he was like, oh, you're gonna take out your frustrations on the cat now? And I was like, I'm being gentle with the cat. I'm not being rough with the cat. I'm being gentle with it. And he was like, that's not what I saw. He was like, I know little shits like you. I know this, you know. And then he starts to go to his room, comes back with the belt, because at that point he got changed into some PJs and whatnot. And oh, this ain't going down. Yeah. Oh. Literally like a millisecond. Oh, okay, cool. And so then, yeah, I got another butt whooping from this dude. But like, that's the thing, is even through all of that, like, I was still gentle with animals. I had this vast understanding of, like, because I was getting bullied at school, I go home to that shit. And now, mind you, before you start going and blaming the other person involved, right? Let's just say, for meme purposes, the den mother, right? Before you start going blaming her about it, she didn't know this stuff was going on. Because, you know, I was told, and my brother was, well, okay, well, I guess the secret's out, but my fellow Grublin was told that if we were to say anything about it, then we would receive the treatment we're getting, but like a million times worse. Mind you, my fellow Grublin didn't get half of what I got, which I'm not trying to compare here, but I have a little bit more of a mouth on me, and if I don't agree with something, then I don't agree with it. Very, very set in my ways. But you know, it just so yeah, don't go blaming the dead mother for this, right? I'll just say that for meme purposes. Yeah, don't go blaming her for that stuff, because yeah, she did not know. I mean, even like as an adult, you know, I'd be like, oh hey, you know this was going on, and I was like, no, and then, you know, now she's pissed off, and she, you know, she's like, what the hell, like, damn, wish you would have told me, stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, well, it's not your fault, you didn't know. And so, you know, there's that. Another animal story was my grandpa on my, oh god, oh, that was such a pucker moment. Oh, in case you're wondering what I'm puckering about, the little white balls that are spinning, those hurt. Not the big ones. The big ones aren't too bad. The small ones suck. But anyways, so another animal story was on my I guess we'll say my sperm donors side of the family, my grandpa on his side owned a church, and he would later on go to jail because he would quite literally like sexually assault I don't know if it was a girl or if it was a woman. I don't know, so I'm gonna just be hesitant on what I say there. But he definitely assaulted one of the female species at his church. And mind you, he lived in the mountains, and they had this like huge house that he kept renovating himself, building all of these like extensions to it, stuff like that. It was a really big house, and but it was in the mountains. And when we go up there, my sperm donor had a trailer that he would go in and do art, because he's a comic book artist, and so he would do art and just have me and my fellow grublin just run around, just explore, try to find something to do. And oh, alright, let's go. Works in Sanctuary. Let's go, sucker! Oh, easy loot. And I remember one time there's a swing. He had a swing, and we would go on this swing, but it was about, I want to say maybe 120 feet away from the house itself, at least from the back door, because he had a bunch of animals on his property and stuff, and so, you know, we would go on the swing a lot, hang around. There was this fallen tree that we would also go and sit on, and we'd look at clouds, and my fellow grublin would talk about different types of clouds that we were seeing, like stratus clouds, and a whole bunch of other ones that I don't remember the names of. But you know, he was very interested in clouds at the time, and would use clouds to draw more things and more creatures and more characters that he wanted to have, because he wanted to animate. And so, you know, we were over there one time, and we were swinging, and I remember it was my turn on the swing, and I'm swinging, and there was this moment where my fellow grublin was like, hey dude, what is that? And so I'm like, I like start to slow down, and I turn, and it was this big ass fucking cat, like huge fucking cat. And in that moment, I didn't realize it was a mountain lion. But I was like, what the hell? I've never seen a cat like that. I was like, is that a bobcat? And at this point, I'm already like, I stopped swinging, like I dug my feet in the freaking dirt to make sure that I wasn't swinging anymore. And so pretty much, you know, I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then my grublin goes, that's a mountain lion. You know, he told me as I was realizing, oh shit, that's a mountain lion. And he was like, that's a mountain lion. And so I was like, all right, let's do this. And so then I'm like, here, get by my side. We're gonna look bigger, and we're gonna start walking back. And he was like, don't turn your back on it. I was like, exactly, don't turn your back on it. And so we're walking backwards, and we're getting stalked by this big ass mountain lion. And now a mountain lion, it's not an actual like lion from the Sahara, right? It's like think of like a short-haired giant cat, more so like a lioness than anything. And you know, we're walking back, and this thing is like kind of, you know, doing this like zigzag curved line maneuver, right? Just walking towards us and stuff. And you know, we're walking all the way back. Mind you, this is like, we're like 120 feet or so away from the house. Like we're a distance from the house. And we're just walking back, and the mountain lion is following us. It's stalking us, and it will kind of like swipe its paws, and then it'll gotta watch out for birds. It'll swipe its paws, and then it'll just like look around, and it'll like lick its lips, and then like it got close enough to where you could hear this giant cat breathing. Like you could hear it breathing through its fucking nose. And it was maybe, I want to say like, I don't know, like 15 feet or so away. Just about. Like it wasn't hella close, but it wasn't hella far either. And, you know, we start to, you know, we get to the house, and now it's like, okay, we got to go up these steps onto this porch balcony thing. And just don't trip, don't fall. And that was the most tense backwards walk I've ever done. And I remember we get into the house, and we tell our grandpa, we're like, hey, grandpa, there's this mountain lion following us. And he was like, oh, okay. I don't like that. And so, you know, we're there, and we're telling him about it. He's like, oh, it was following you? And we're like, yeah. And he was like, oh, it just wanted a nibble. And I remember I looked at my fellow Gremlin, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, did this old fart really just like fucking say that shit to us? Oh, that was probably me, most likely. But anyways, I was like, did this old fart really just say that to us? Like, dude, we were getting stalked by this mountain lion. And I was like, hey, you know, I think that thing was trying to eat us. And mind you, our grandpa on our sperm donor side of the family was so crazy, so delusional, right? I mean, this is a huge reason why I'm not, like, I don't affiliate with religion, right? Because he was a hardcore Christian, like so hardcore that whatever the Bible said, he was like, this is the way of life. This is the law of the universe, and nothing else can deter me from that mindset. And okay, well, that wasn't me this time. And so it was just like something that I don't know. Like, I mean, I was exposed to the Bible. I had to read it, everything like that. I just don't agree with it. And it wasn't because of like, oh, this one person said this. It's just me personally, I just didn't agree with what's being said in it. Like, I'm just like, that just doesn't seem plausible to me. I'm sure this is probably written in good faith, but me personally, I just you know, didn't really get with it, I guess. And so anyways, I remember you know, our sperm donor shows up later into the house, and he was like, hey, how's everything going? And I was like, oh, we just got chased by a mountain lion, and we had to walk back. And I was explaining to him, I was like, this is what happened. And he was like, what, are you serious? And we were like, yeah, we're not lying, we're being serious. He's like, if you grubs are joking with me, you know, if you're pulling a fast one on me, I'm gonna be pissed. And I was like, no, I'm being serious, like, that's really happened. And so then he goes to his dad, which is our grandpa on our sperm donor side, and you know, he was like, hey, so what happened? And he was explaining to the grandpa was explaining to the sperm donor. He was, and I say sperm donor, but it's, you know, biological sperm donor, right? Which I guess that's technically what they classify as. I don't know. I think in order to be called dad, you gotta fill some prerequisites, right? So we're saying sperm donor. But anyways, he the grandpa told him, he was like, well, if the boys if the grubs were eaten, then you know that would have just been God's plan, and they would be with our Lord and Savior right now, enjoying an everlasting existence of bliss and joy, or it was something like that. And I remember I was like, this guy sounds so fucking crazy. Are you kidding me? I was like, dude, I was getting ready to. I was legit getting. Okay, yeah, I was going near the middle of that. I'm not risking that. But I was getting ready to throw my life away to save my fellow Grublin's life. I was ready. I was like, this is when I die. I don't care. But to hear my grandpa on my sperm donor side say, oh, if the lion ate them, then it would have been a gracious gift upon of one of God's creatures, and the grubs would have been, he didn't say grubs, but the grubs would have been enjoying an everlasting existence of harmony and endless joy and glee and whatever else he was saying, right? And I remember that was like one of the very few times that me and my grubs, and I say sperm donor, but it's not like a literal that, just if you know, you know, right? But pretty much, you know, that was like one of the very, very, very few times that we were ever stood up for, you know, and it was this moment of like, you know, we ended up leaving like soon after that, and I remember in that car, that was a very awkward car ride home. Very awkward car ride home. And it was this weird, very weird moment of like, whoa, this guy who's been like, oh yes, I'm so good. I follow in the word of God, and I'm this genuine soul. Like he turned out to be this like psycho fucking dude, man. Like it was hell. He was so psycho. Like I was so shook. I was like, dude, holy crap. I'm pretty sure. Like, and I made a joke about it, and I got in trouble for making this joke. But I was telling my fellow grub, I was like, dude, I feel like if he was on the other side of that glass door, because there was these glass sliding doors in the back patio porch thing. Sorry. These energy drinks get me all burpy. But pretty much it was like, I was like, if he was on the other side of that, I feel like he would have locked it. You know, obviously I got in trouble for saying that, but like, to this day, my fellow grub kind of agrees. He's like, yeah, I think he would have locked it, and we both would have been fucked. You know, we both would have been screwed. And so I was like, yeah. So that's a crazy animal story there. Wild, super wild. There was another one where I was with my my grubette and my little gremlin, and we were driving to this this park that's kind of outside of the we'll say the mountain range, right? And we're driving there, and on our way there, we saw there was 2 dead deers on the side of the road near the park we were going to. But like, they were beheaded. The tails were cut off. The hooves were cut off. But like, something weird about it, because like normally you would just kind of just slide that off as oh, they were just you know, getting that to sell those parts, and then they're just on their way. But the weird thing about it was the fact that the stomach was cut open on both of them, and the spaghetti was strewn out in a specific way on both of them. It was strung out in a specific way on both of them, like almost exact. And I remember I was looking over at my grubette, and I was like, did you see that? And she was like, yeah, I saw that. That's kind of weird. And then so then, you know, I was just like chopping it off, like, oh, okay, they're probably just, you know, harvesting the tail. Maybe they wanted like an organ or two or something. Like, all right, whatever. I mean, it's weird that, you know, both of them look the exact same with the spaghetti, right? Just to kind of censor myself here. They look kind of the same with the spaghetti. That's a little weird. But oh yeah, I want to be over here. But like, you know, it is what it is. So we're at the park. We're hanging out with our little gremlin, and you know, we're like, okay, we're done here. Let's go. Mosquitoes are starting to come out, all this stuff. And so we leave. And on our way back, mind you, it's a pretty clear visibility all around. Like all around, it's a pretty clear visibility that whole way through. You could see the fences, everything, right? There were 2 deer heads on pikes next to the fence on our way back, which was weird because we were literally just there. And mind you, I'm a very, very defensive driver, extremely defensive, especially with cryptids in my car, right? So I'm very, very cautious of that. I mean, I'm no stranger to how fast a life can change in a like a car crash. But sorry, that was the weirdest thing. I heard like whistling. But no, like there was you know, there's these 2 deer heads on pikes right next to the fence on our way back, and it was further. It's as if though instead of going towards them, you're going away from them. And so I was like, when did this happen? That is so weird, because those weren't there before. Like they genuinely weren't there on our way there. But then on our way back, mind you, we were there for maybe like an hour and a half, because it started to get dark. And I'm aware of certain things that most people aren't, you know. So I'm just like, okay, it's time to go. It's starting to get dark. Let's bounce. Let's get out of here. And so, you know, we're dipping, and you know, on our way back, we see these, and I'm like, when did this happen? And this is so strange, because the story doesn't end there. Then we end up pretty much going back the following month, and around that same area there were 3 more deer, 3 more, the same exact way. And I was like, we have a serial deer killer on our hands here. Like, this is scary, because usually if someone's willing to do that to a deer, then, you know, you're not much off the food chain. You're not too far off from the food chain in terms of that. And so it became this thing of like, we were on our way there, we were looking out for any deer heads, right? Which we didn't see any on our way there. I mean, we were on the second time there, the month after, we were really looking because we're like, oh man, what if we see it again? You know, we're joking around about it, but you know, we didn't see any deer heads. But guess what? We saw 3 deers, like 3 deer carcasses. Same thing, head, tail, hoofs, and then spaghetti in the same exact way on all of them, the same way. And there's like there's like a really big one, kind of smaller one, and then almost like a doe, like a kid or child one. And we're like, what the hell? And I was like, how much you want to bet on our way back we're going to see those pikes again? You know, and the grubette was like, I don't know, that's too much of a coincidence at that point, and maybe we should rethink coming back here if that's the case. And I was like, all right, cool. I bet you it's gonna happen. And so, you know, we're going back, and around the same area, right? We're looking at the same area, and we don't see any pikes. We don't see any deer heads. We don't see any pikes. And you know, the grubette was like, oh, see, I told you, it's not there. And about maybe I want to say like a mile and a half down the road, lo and behold, we start seeing one pike next to a fence, because there's this long ass fence, because you're basically driving in the middle of nowhere to get to this this spot that we used to like to go to. And you know, we're driving, we're going, and there's one, and I was like, holy shit. And you know, the grubette's freaking out. She's like, oh my god, no way, that is so crazy. And then we see a second one, and then we see a third. But something I did notice was one head was large, one head was smaller, and then the last one was obviously the kid one, or the teen, the doe, the not adult deer. And it was like this moment of like the moment we saw the third one, we kind of looked at each other, and I was like, maybe we shouldn't be like here. Maybe we shouldn't be coming in this area, because like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've looked into serial killers, because it's an interesting topic when you're learning about psychology, and you know, you get curious on like, okay, what's like the extreme side of this, you know, and you kind of learn about it and stuff like that. You learn about the extreme side. You know, it turned into this thing where like you start to learn about how serial killers work and how to identify them in a broad spectrum, because there's obviously different types of them, but you start to learn, okay, these are some very clear, pertinent warning signs that most people don't look for, because they don't have this sense of like danger. They lack that, which is crazy, because most people, they'll watch like scary movies, horror movies, stuff like that, and they're like, oh dude, I'm a horror movie fanatic. But then here you are walking around in the middle of a hiking trail at like, oh man, what are we going to first? Okay, I don't want to split the group, but it looks like it's gonna end up happening anyways. They'll go on a hiking trail in the middle of the night, and they'll see that there's someone else there in full tactical gear, and there's like, oh, they're not gonna do anything to me, and they continue on the trail. They actually get out of their car, you know. So it's just like, I don't know, I'm aware of this type of stuff, and so I was just like, yeah, I don't think we should go anymore, at least for a while. And yeah, I don't know. That was wild. That was pretty crazy, very crazy, because it's like one of those things of like you can study something, right? You can study something for so long. Like best example, people in high stress, high intensity level scenarios, and they're like, oh, I would know exactly what to do. You sweep the leg, and then you do an uppercut right on the right side of their jaw, and then then after that you're gonna sweep your elbow onto their temple, and blah 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 blah. Like there's a lot of people like that in the world, but then like the moment they're in that situation, they fumble. Their body doesn't react like they want it to, and it's like even as a kid, I was taught. I mean, the federal officer, the stepdad was. I hate to even call him that because he wasn't even a dad. It was just like a fucking horrible, horrible human being. But pretty much he there we go. I'll go ahead and trade you. Here you are. There you go. And I'll give you these two. Or there you go. And so, it was like we were taught this stuff. I mean, especially me, because I was in like cadets and stuff like that, and I don't know. It's not really something to be bragging about. I mean, it's back then it was kind of cool because I didn't really have much friends, and I felt like I was like part of a team there. But like, the more I looked at my surroundings and the individuals who I was seeing as, oh, these guys are my friends, but then they'd like be power hungry, and it's like you're not even an officer yet, and you're acting like a complete freaking nutcase. And it's just like, but pretty much like I've since I was a kid is like trained, and I mean I have this weird superstition about it, where like I was trained in this way by the federal officer, so that way I would get myself into legal trouble later on, because he was very like, oh, PPE, FFTTE, dang, ripping the new player experience. And I say that because he pulled a lot of stunts that was very, it was like setting up. Like he set a lot of stuff up, and so that's why I have this weird inkling about it. But I'm not crazy. I'm not gonna be, nor have I ever used that for like ill intent, ill purposes, right? And so the thing is though is that like I don't know. I'm just back to the original point, is that like I'm just aware that there's some individuals out there who look like, oh, I can trust them because they're wearing glasses. Oh, I can trust them because they keep up on their shaving. Oh, I can trust them because they're a woman, because they're a girl, right? However, I'm like the moment I meet someone new, even in public, like when someone's like, hey, I was just wondering, do you want to go ahead of me in line? No, thank you. Are you sure? Yeah, no, thank you. I don't, call me paranoid, right? That's fine. But like, I'm not gonna put myself in a position that's gonna potentially trigger someone's psyche into alleviating their subconscious into committing a heinous act. And so let alone giving someone the opportunity to do so. And that's just kind of where I stand with those situations. So yeah, we definitely stopped going back there. 100%. I mean, one moment it's animals, The next moment, it could be a person. You know, and it could very well be you. I mean, that's so yeah. We stopped going there. Another animal story was I remember when I was a wee young gremlin, little grub. We had a snake. It was a red-tailed boa, and we got a mouse for it, and you know, the red-tailed boa just kind of struck the mouse in the head, and then it wasn't interested in it. And I remember I was watching this go down, and I was like starting to feel really bad for the mouse, and I was like, oh my god, like, you know, is the mouse okay? Can I help it? And this was in the federal officer's house, right? And he was like, yeah, sure, knock yourself out, whatever, go for it. You're wasting your time though. And I was like, no, I want to help it, because if it's not food, you know, then why should we just let it die? And he was like, whatever, that's dumb, blah blah blah. And so I remember I got the mouse out of the cage, and I made it this little warm nest, pretty much, this little nest for it, and I got water for it, and I was trying to give it water, but it wasn't drinking the water, and I was trying to like care for it, but like, you know, I had to basically clean off because the boa struck the head, right? And that pretty much was like the end of that mouse, the moment it got hit in the head, because I guess it penetrated the skull or something like that. Sorry, I gotta focus here real quick. Yeah, I guess it penetrated the skull, and the mouse was just, you know, it was meeting its end pretty much. And I remember I was sitting there trying to take care of it, and I remember it was you know, about to pass on, and so I'm like I'm crying, I'm sobbing up a storm, and you know, everyone else in the house was eating dinner, because I refused to eat dinner because I didn't want to leave the little mouse to basically pass alone. And I remember sitting there crying, and then I with my finger held the little mouse's hand, and the mouse was like, I could see it was fading, and I started crying even more, and I was like, it's okay, and I used my nose to like basically give it like a little nose kiss, right? Like, because I'm not about to kiss a mouse, but oh my god, all these enemies. Oh shit, shit. 1 sec. Okay, come on. Oh, 120. That's right, I forgot. That's a lot of damage. But you know, I was just like, oh, I'm so sorry, and I'm crying, and the little mouse is you know, it ends up passing away, and I sat there and I cried for like 3 hours. I just felt so bad for this mouse, and yeah, I was crying for like 3 hours, and you know, it was a sad moment, and yeah, oh god, I don't know what that is, but I feel like this is gonna go down first. So let's go over here. Oh, it's a Skull Knight. I don't know. No one's around it. Yeah, no one's near the Skull Knight, so I don't. Oh man, 125,000. I don't. Yeah, okay. This is going down before that. And so yeah, I remember that was that sad moment. But then I got in trouble for disturbing the federal officer's off time and his dinner time. And yeah, I mean, the dude was a piece of shit. Like, I'm not, I am not exaggerating either. This is 100% what was going on. And you know, my upbringing. And so yeah, I mean, like, even at a young age, I was always gentle with animals, extremely gentle all the time. Any opportunity I got to give wildlife or an animal a good experience, I would definitely try to be the good in the animal's short existence, you know, or not so long existence. And okay, I think that one's gonna be next. Yeah, this one's gonna be next. And so yeah, I mean, it's crazy, really sad animal story there. I had another one. I had a pet chameleon, which was really neat. But again, this was in the federal officer's home, and he decided to give it some sunlight. So right over the sink was this little like protruded area where the window usually would be, like the windowsill was, but it was this protruded area where you could put plants in. There would be like direct sunlight in that area, and because it was pretty much like this, practically made of like glass, you know what I mean? And just think of like a window, but then put a square outside of that, and that's what this area was. And so, you know, he puts my chameleon, which I had for like a week at this point. He puts it out there in that little area on this stick thing, and leaves it there all day as I'm at school. Mind you, at this point, it was I got this in the this chameleon in the 3rd grade, and I was walking to and from school because, you know, he did not want to give me a ride to and from school and said I needed to man up in the 3rd grade. And so here I am, you know, coming home from school, and I'm like, oh boy, I'm gonna go hang out with you know, my one and only friend, you know, my chameleon. And so I go and I look into its enclosure, and I was like, where is he? And I was like, and I was looking for like 5 minutes, maybe 8 minutes. Maybe like 8 minutes, right? And I don't see this chameleon anywhere. And I was like, what the hell? You know, he's actually not in there. He's not camouflaging. He's not in there. And so I walk out, and I was like, hey, did anyone see my chameleon? And, you know, the den mother, right? She was like, no, I actually haven't seen him. And she asked the federal officer, which is the stepdad. She was like, hey, have you seen him? Have you seen the chameleon? And he was like, I don't know. I need to think about it. And I was like, okay. And so I stood there waiting for like 20 minutes while this dude was playing World of Warcraft. He was sitting there for like 20 minutes, and then he was like, I'm sorry, what were you asking? And I was like, have you seen my chameleon? And he was like, oh yeah, no, I did. I thought he needed some sun, so I put him in you know, he said the windowsill over the sink. And so, you know, I get a stool because I'm short, I can't reach over there. So I get a stool, I walk over, you know, sit up and whatnot, and you know, I open it, and there's my chameleon, and it's all black. The chameleon was all black, and its eyes were closed. And I was like, oh my god, no. And then my fellow Grublin comes over, and then my stepsister comes over, and you know, my fellow grub was like crying with me. Meanwhile, the Oh my god. And so, pretty much, sorry, I had to plug there. And so pretty much, like, you know, we're sad about it and everything, and this dude was like, he was like, why are you crying? He's okay. He got some sun. That's what their skin does. And I was like, he's not opening his eyes. And I actually pretended to be sick the next 2 days so I could take care of my pet chameleon. And I got this plastic syringe that had a soft nose on it. And pretty much I would feed the chameleon water and this special stuff that, you know, the den mother got for my chameleon, and paid it with her own money, not his, but her own money. And so you know, I'm trying to keep this chameleon alive for like the next 2 days, and on the third morning, mind you, by the second morning, there was crust developing over the chameleon's eyes, which I was like, oh no, no, no. And I'm like trying to get the crust off, and I'm trying to make sure that it can open its eyes at least so it could see where its water dish is and everything, because it was blinded at that point. And you know, it was just this like horrible feeling on the third morning, because on the third morning I woke up, and like the first thing I did, like I would wake up in a panic every single time. And so pretty much you know, there it was on its side, flat. It was gone. So the fucking dude killed my chameleon because, you know, I was happy for once. And you know, it was horrible, man. It was horrible. Ooh, that's a nice looking divine, by the way. But yeah, no, it was horrible. That was the worst feeling ever. My poor chameleon. Gone. Yeah, man. I mean, it was... and the level of favoritism that was going on, right, was, you know, he had his flesh and blood daughter there, so my stepsister. And she would get, if she was like, I don't like the way these shoes look, she would get new shoes. When I'm like, hey, I feel like these shoes are getting a little bit too old. I've had them for like a year now. He'd be like, are there holes at the bottom of them? And I was like, well, no. He'd be like, okay, then you don't need new shoes. He's like, are they too tight on you? And I was like, well, no, because I wasn't raised a liar. He'd be like, then you don't need new shoes. And so me and my fellow Grublin would get the short end of every aspect. I mean, we would get served last. You know, we got everything negative. It was awful. It was so bad, man. I mean, the level of favoritism, mind you, we're getting like the short end of the stick on every aspect of everything, right? But there was one day my stepsister was like, hey, I know you've been wanting to make a new friend. You know, do you want to come meet him? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she goes over to the federal officer, right? And she's like, hey, can we go hang out with you know, she said my name's friend. And he was like, yeah, sure, because she was asking. So he said, yeah. We go over, and mind you, this is the first time I'm meeting this guy, but I didn't know this, but they were dating. They were dating at the time. And she was like, here, hold on, wait right here. We're gonna play a game really quick. And I was like, okay, cool. And mind you, we're in middle school at this point. And you know, I'm sitting there on the side of this abandoned house because we walked into this abandoned house's backyard, and now I'm having to stand on the side of the house in the fence, right? And they go to the backyard around the corner, and then, you know, they're there for a little bit. I'm just like waiting. I'm like, okay, you know, when can I start counting? Because they're saying, oh, we're gonna play hide and seek. And the guy's like, oh, not yet, not yet. You know, and then eventually they both come around the corner, and by the time they come around the corner, this old guy was like, what are you kids doing back there? And I was like, oh, we're just playing hide and seek. And he was like, yeah, you guys can't be here. This is someone's house. You can't be here. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, sure, we'll leave. And so we're walking out, and the old guy leaves, right? He walks away. And then sorry, one sec. Gotta focus here. And so on my way back, you know, this guy who I just met was like, bro, can I tell you something? Nope. And I was like, sure, what's up? And he's like, your stepsister just gave me head. And she was like, yeah, but don't tell my dad about it. Mind you, my dad. She's like, don't tell my dad about it. And I was like, what the hell? You told me that we were here to play, and I was here to make a new friend. And the guy was like, sorry, man, you got played. And I was like, okay. And I was like, I'm gonna tell on you, dude. She was like, why? And I'm like, we're kids. You can't be doing stuff like that. We're kids. And she was like, no, nuh-uh. And she was like, he's not gonna believe you. And I was like, watch. And so, you know, I run home, right? Because I'm a lot faster than her. And so I ran home. I was on the track team, so I run home, and I was like, hey, look, and I explained to him everything, and I was like, near the end of it, I was like, you know, and they come around the corner, and we're walking home. The guy's like, oh, she just gave me head and stuff like that, and he was like, shut your fucking mouth, and I was like, I'm telling you the truth, and he was like, if you don't shut your fucking mouth, I'm gonna shut it for you, you little bitch, and I was like. I'm telling you the truth. And he was like, what did I teach you? When someone tells you to shut your mouth, you shut your fucking mouth, blah, blah, blah. And she comes home and she's like, that never happened and blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen. It wasn't all, he just got mad because the guy didn't want to play with him. And I was like, oh, this is fucked up. The den mother believed me, but he didn't for obvious reasons. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, with that all being said and done, I'm going to end the part here. Next part, I'll be at 64 stars, which is really dope. It's pretty cool. Let me see here. Ooh, okay. Cool, Night Matter. So that means I can... I don't know if it's going to be tier 7. I'm not really too sure. I guess I can open up this chest I got this part. I guess I can open that up, and then I can drag this over here, put that there, and then put that there. Maybe I can get something from that. Okay. Well, here, I'll give that to a roamer. But yeah, alrighty. Thank you all so much for supporting this series up to this point. I really do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed some of my stories that I've experienced in life in accordance to animals. So yeah, I really gotta. Oh God, energy drinks. I don't recommend you drinking energy drinks as you're playing games because oh my gosh, it goes straight through your freaking bladder, man. But yeah, go brush your teeth if it's been a few weeks. Take a shower if it's been a few months, and if it's been a few years, you may want to eat some food. Getting some fresh outside plant oxygen air is spectacular for your lungs. And if you're a fish, go to the fresher part of the pond, river, lake, ocean, wherever it is you swim. Your gills will thank you. And more and most importantly, take care of yourselves in a healthy and responsible way that doesn't hurt yourself or others so you can game yet another day. Alrighty, I'll see you in the next part, during the next part, the time of which is the next part once we get to the next part. So until then, I will see you there at the next part. Alrighty, bye bye for now, and until the next part, see you there!